On behalf of SELCO and West Boylston Municipal Light Plant, we welcome you to our heat pump forum. It has a rather seasonal title, Don't Be Spooked by Heat Pumps, Debunking Myths and Uncovering the Truth. I want to give a big thanks to our communications and marketing team for all their hard work in putting this event together, especially Val Clemmy and Olivia Perrin. They're walking around here out front. And another thank you to our guest speakers. We have Joe Coles from MWIC, the Massachusetts Municipal Wholesale Electric Company. They administer our rebate programs for us. Robert Williams from the Center for Ecotechnology, CET. They do our heat pump consultation services and our home energy audits. And Alex Hoffman from the Beneficial Electrification League. And also thank you to the Senior Center for allowing us to host this event here. Shrewsbury Public Buildings and SMC Shrewsbury Media Connection for filming. And just a couple housekeeping items. Please save your questions for after the presenters conclude. We'll take about 3 questions per presenter, and then any remaining questions can be asked in the networking portion after all the presentations are done. And there's lunch provided as well. If you haven't signed in at the registration table out front near the front entrance, please do so. You can grab a raffle ticket. We'll be raffling off a few items for you. And there's coffee, tea, and some light pastries out back. Please help yourself. And there's a light lunch provided by Dean Park Pizza as well. Restrooms are located out back to the right, and during the networking presentation we'll have a few tables where our speakers will be standing up there, as well as SELCO and West Boylston, and our local climate advocacy group Tipping Point 01545 has a table as well. The Shrewsbury Historical Society is here to talk about their heat pump project, as well as the contractor that was hired for that project, Control Point. They have an actual heat pump that's functioning that you can go take a look at. It's pretty cool. And you can ask them more specific questions about your house. So in the past handful of years, SELCO and West Boylston have been working hard to support a clean energy transition and clean energy solutions for our customers. There's currently an energy system transformation going on right now. It's a pretty important moment in our history, and we're changing the way we heat and cool our homes, how we drive our cars, how we mow our lawns, how we power our homes. Everything is changing, and electric utilities are serving as that foundation for switching energy. And to be honest, the electric technology is just superior. It's better, it's newer, and that's what we're trying to promote. So speaking of benefits of superior technology, I'd like to begin by pulling our first raffle. So take out your tickets if you have one, and I'll be pulling one for a resident from West Boylston and another from Shrewsbury. Val, do we have the raffle tickets?
The raffles nice.
Okay, tickets acquired. West Boylston, 060070. 060070. We'll give it 15 seconds. Oh, okay. It's a Wi-Fi thermostat that can control your heat pumps. All right. Okay, Shrewsbury resident, 060037. Zero six zero zero 37.
There you go. Thank you.
All right, congrats to our first winners. Be sure to enroll those devices in our Connected Homes program if you have a heat pump system or plan to get one. So at this time, I would like to dive right in and hand it off to our first presenter, Robert Williams from the Center for Ecotechnology. He is the Senior Residential Energy Consultant. And he, as I mentioned, CET provides heat pump services for us and does our home energy audits for Shrewsbury and West Boylston.
All right, we're going to make the cameraman work back there. Test out this clicker. And I've had 2 cups of coffee already, so I'm overly caffeinated. And so I just have to keep up. So real quick again, CET, it's a nonprofit organization that was started during the late 70s, so it's almost 50 years old. And we're partnered with MWEC. And so for the towns of West Boylston and Shrewsbury, we do the energy audits. We do the air source heat pump consultations. We do the manual J load calculations. And we do the design reviews. And that's a lot, and we'll get into that. So starting off, just, what's a heat pump? But even before we get into that, because like I said, I'm overly caffeinated, who's had an energy audit for their home? All right, and I guess for the people who haven't had one yet, what are you waiting for? It's like, they're, right, so at first, they're no cost to you, right? And really what's the whole purpose of the energy audit is to provide you with information about your home, how it works. For the informal poll again, how many people have environmental concerns, right? How many people have home comfort concerns, want to be comfortable in their home? And what about cost concerns, right? They want to try to keep their costs lower. Great. Well, you know what? Pretty much, he's ready to give the presentation. Basically, for any of those 3 things, the solutions are typically the same. That's the little secret, right? So if you're cold in your home, well, what you do, you can make sure there's enough insulation installed in your walls in your attic. If you're trying to save money on your utility costs, you can make sure there's enough insulation in your walls and in your attic. And if you're concerned about the environment, you can make sure there's enough insulation in your walls and your attic. What is that going to do? It's going to reduce the amount of energy actually needed to heat your home. Whether you're using an electric heat pump, or even oil or natural gas. Let's see. So what is an air source heat pump? Who knows how a heat pump works? A couple people, but really what's the easiest thing? Well, who has central AC? All right, several people. Who has a refrigerator? All right. Well, the heat pump works almost the same exact way as your refrigerator. What's the whole purpose of your refrigerator? Keep things cool, right? Well, that's what we think of, but really it's removing the heat from inside the refrigerator. So it's transferring heat from one area, the inside of your fridge, to another area, outside of your fridge. Right, so especially remember for older refrigerators, you can sometimes feel heat underneath that coming out. Well, great, it's taking heat from inside your fridge and it's transferring it outside of your fridge. So the heat pump is that same premise, and it works the same way as the central AC. So during the summertime, when you're trying to keep your house nice and cool, great, you're capturing heat that's in your house and you're transferring it outside. And then so during the winter time with the heat pump system, there's a reversing valve and a couple other magical components, and it does the reverse. So it captures heat that's outside, even when it's really cold, and it transfers that heat into your home and heats the home that way. Right, so what is a heat pump like? It's like a refrigerator. Heat pumps extract heat from the air outside, the same as air conditioning, and moves it indoors for heating. We've got our fancy diagram. So one of the nice things about heat pumps, right, we're talking about energy efficiency right here. It says that Heat pumps use less electricity than traditional heating systems, often providing 2 to 3 times more energy than they consume, making them highly efficient. So let's see, so when natural gas furnaces first came out, when they had like the older gravity style furnaces, you know, like out in the 50s and stuff like that, and they weren't even rated for efficiency. But like the, let's see, like the low efficiency models, the efficiency would be around like the mid 70s, right? So for every dollar you're spending to heat your home, essentially, 25 cents is wasted. We'll just pretend, right? So for the low efficiency furnace. For like the mid efficiency furnaces, right, natural gas or propane or whatever, you know, the efficiency is, you know, in the mid 80s. Or for a boiler, the efficiency is, you know, around 85%. So for every dollar you're spending to heat your home with oil or natural gas, 15 cents is wasted. And that's just from the heating system itself, not talking about like if you're missing insulation in areas of your house and leaky air ducts. For electric resistance baseboard heating, it's about 100% efficient. Hey, that's great, right? So every dollar we're spending towards creating heat is actually being used to heat our home. But then with the heat pump system, the efficiency can be around between 200 and 300%. And why? Because instead of burning fuel to create heat and having some of that heat like escape out of the chimney, we're just transferring that heat from one area to another. So again, we're transferring heat from the outside during the winter time and bringing that into your home. So we're just transferring heat, not really creating heat. Does heating and cooling during the summertime. So whatever, half a dozen of you raise your hands to say that you had central AC, and everyone else, you use window units or supper. I like to suffer a little bit. And but yeah, so just another benefit of the heat pump system. Great, it's going to provide both heating during the winter and cooling during the summer. So especially if you are on the older side and don't feel like, you know, lugging out the 50-pound air conditioner and put it in the second story where you're like your vehicle's parked right below in the driveway, right? You won't have to worry about that anymore. Heating and cooling. This is talking about limited capacity. It's the arguments that heat pumps struggle to fully heat large homes, especially in colder climates, and potentially requiring backup systems. Sort of false, and false a little bit. All right, so it was cold last night, right? Right, a little cold. So if I went outside dressed like this, would I be comfortable? No. Why? Well, it's cold outside, but right, yeah, no minimal insulation, right? So all our bodies create heat, right? So we're all great at creating heat. And but if we lack insulation or clothing on our bodies, our success will vary. But yeah, so again, so if for a house, if you have a large house, maybe even, you know, an older house, and it's either poorly insulated or not insulated at all, well, great. I mean, it doesn't matter what type of heating system you have, all the heat created is going to try to escape out of the house. So yeah, so talking about struggling to heat large homes, you know, if the house is well insulated and if the heat pump system is properly designed for the house, it's not really a problem. For cold climate, well, yeah, so for cold climate heat pumps, they refer to them as, they can work in temperatures as low as minus 15 degrees. So the Shrewsbury target range, when they're designing a heat pump for your home, it's generally, I think it's, I don't remember if it's 5 degrees or 2 degrees now, but something like that. And let's see, so backup systems aren't needed. Cold climate heat pumps, like I said, they can work at temperatures as low as minus 15 degrees. And if your house is adequately insulated and air sealed, and the heat pump is well designed for your home, then you won't have any problem heating and cooling your home. It says that air source heat pumps lose efficiency when temperatures drop below freezing, making them less effective in cold climates. Well, sure, like the efficiency for heat pumps, right? The colder it is, the more difficult it is to trap heat that's in the air, right? So if it's 40 degrees out, there's really, you know, plenty of heat in the air for the heat pump to capture, easy for it to capture. And then when it gets below, you know, when it gets below 30 degrees, 20 degrees, 10 degrees, right? There's basically less heat for the heat pump to capture. It still captures heat, but just the efficiency dwindles. So for people to say, you know, that, yeah, heat pumps, they're just not efficient when they're, you know, when it's really cold, it's like, okay, but that's why you're looking at like the whole winter season overall, right? Because there's going to be plenty of winter days where it's, you know, in the 40s, 30s, It's not going to be 5 degrees all winter long. So it says that certain modern heat pumps are designed to function efficiently even at sub-zero temperatures. And there it says the cold climate heat pumps can operate in temperatures as low as minus 13 degrees. Argument is the outdoor unit and the indoor wall-mounted systems are unsightly and take up too much space. I mean, who agrees with that? I mean, I don't know. Right? But no one's going to have the same, you know, find the same piece of artwork beautiful as well. Right? So that all varies a little bit. And they do have the mini split system, it's called. That's the wall-mounted unit, a mini split heat pump. They have that located outside there so you can view it and it's working. And but really just depends on your home and really what your needs and desires are. So again, with a large amount of people here, it's speaking, you know, more in general terms, but afterwards feel free to pester me as much as you want. I'd be happy to chat all afternoon long. But generally, you know, one would use the mini split heat pumps, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but you'd probably use the mini split heat pumps maybe if there's no air duct system already in the house, or if maybe you're just looking to heat or cool a specific room. Maybe you had like an old sunroom that was converted to heated space. But you just want to add a mini split to that area, a mini split heat pump, so that's when you would do that. And they also have different types of mini split units as well. So we've got like the wall mounted one out there, but they've got like some floor mounted models as well. I even saw one that actually was like designed as like a piece of art. It was probably like 2 feet by 2 feet, and it was like artwork on the front of it. I've only seen it the one time I took a picture of it, so I'd have to dig through it to find it again. But yes, there are different options if you're concerned about how they look. But again, at that point, it depends. What's your biggest concern? How beautiful the heat pump mini split is on your wall, or how comfortable you are, or how much you are affecting the climate, or how much money you're saving. So there's the outdoor compressor unit, and the same thing like for the central AC that have the outdoor compressor unit, it's typically bigger than that. And you can see they've got the wall-mounted unit above the door in this image. But let's say you've got, well, if you are going to go with the mini split option, right? Let's say you've got 3 bedrooms on the 2nd floor, and like your kitchen, living room, dining room on the 1st floor. Like 1,500 square foot house. Well, typically, if you want the heat pumps to be your sole source of heat, well, you'll need a heat pump, at least in every bedroom, right? And then generally for the main living space area, maybe you can get away with doing like, one in the living room and the second one in the dining room kitchen, something like that. But for the outdoor unit out there, the compressor unit, typically one of those can support up to 8 of the inside units. So you don't need to have like 1 outdoor unit for every indoor unit. That would look a little absurd if you had 8 of those stationed outside your home. Alternatively, they have the central or a ducted heat pump system. So if you already have air ducts in your home, right, if you have a natural gas furnace or a oil furnace right now, then depending on the condition of the air ducts and how everything was designed, they may be able to use that same air duct system. And again, so you'd have the outdoor compressor unit out here, and you have the indoor air handler portion for the heat pump in there, and it's just connected with all the ducts. Again, is that practical for a lot of existing homes that are a couple hundred years old? Nah, not really. Not unless you're planning on gutting the entire house. But maybe if you just have a single-story home, then maybe it's possible you can install all new air ducts in the attic with a heat pump system located in the attic. Or if you have an unfinished basement, then maybe all the air ducts can just be installed right in the basement area. If you have a Cape Cod style home, I've also seen it where there's a combination of both. They'll do like in the basement, they'll install the central ducted heat pump, all new air ducts in the basement to heat and cool the 1st floor, and then for the couple bedrooms on the 2nd floor, they'll do a mini split for each bedroom. So it's like you can do a combination of both. But which one is right for you? So again, like if you have existing ductwork, then great, maybe you can install the central heat pump. If not, maybe you'd have to do the mini splits. We talked about the different options there. Cost, well that matters. I know that's one of the the big concerns is like how much does all this cost? Well, you know what? everything costs a lot now. It's really absurd. But like for me, I think of like upfront costs a lot sometimes. So my wife and I, we actually just moved to Massachusetts at the end of 2021. We bought our house in Franklin in August of 2022. Well, first off, the house was as expensive as can be. It's just a raised ranch, but very expensive. But yeah, it's like, you know, we got some quote, we need a new water heater. And so we got some quotes for water heaters, right? We were thinking of doing, we've got propane for our heating, a propane furnace that's 10 years old. So we were thinking of doing a propane on-demand water heater. And, you know, we got quotes going from, you know, $6,000 to like $9,500. That's a big difference, right? For just one little water heater. So how much does it cost for a heat pump? I've seen quotes, you know, as low as like, you know, for a central ducted heat pump, as low as like $18,000, you know, up to like $50,000 for a single one. So it's not really enough now to get like 3 quotes. I would get like 6 or 7 or 8 quotes. Because chances are, we had some trees cut down too earlier this year. And for a couple of the tree guys that came out, I just didn't like them. You know, like, or just the way they acted, or like they were at the house for like 5 minutes. And so, well, that doesn't really feel like you're taking care of me. So if I want someone, you know, if I'm investing in a new heat pump system, right? I'm planning to live in my home for a while, I want to do the right thing. Well, great, I want to go with someone who I feel like I can trust, who's going to look after me and do the right thing for my home, and not just, you know, come out to make a fast buck and be on their way. If you look at both the amount of like insulation companies, I guess, and like heat pump contractors that have, you know, opened up in business in the last 10 years, you know, it's crazy between like the Mass Aid program and all that. So there's definitely a lot of newer contractors who are just out there to make money. But yeah, so how much is it going to cost? Definitely shop around. But we're going to take care of you, don't worry. Because some of the services provided, both SELCO and West Boylston include the air source heat pump consultations. And so what does that entail? Again, it's no cost to you. And it's typically up to a 30-minute phone call. Or we can do it in person sometimes if we're at your house doing an energy audit too. And it's basically just a one-on-one conversation of what we're talking about now, like how heat pumps work, would it be a good fit for your home, you know, just asking the homeowner, you know, things about their home and what you're really looking for. So for the heat pump consultation, it's a great way to go into a little more depth to find out, you know, maybe specifically if the heat pump would work for you. We go into more detail about, right, the system size, and we'll get to in a second, but like the equipment selection, right? So again, just off of like a conversation, you know, would it be better for, you know, the mini split heat pumps or the central ducted heat pump, you know, approximate costs, what to look for in a contractor, things like that. So doing that heat pump consultation is a great way, again, just to like, you want to find out, you know, solid, real information. I mean, you can look up, you know, you can look on the internet and you'll find out, you know, I guess whatever your opinion is, the internet will support it. And afterwards, so for any of these things that you are interested in, I can take down your information out there, and then we can have one of the office staff contact you to set up an appointment. A whole lot of you didn't raise your hands when I asked who's had an energy audit. Again, it's free to you, and it's just to provide you information about your home. I am terrible when it comes to automobiles, right? I can start my car, use my turn signals, I do use them, yes. And that's about it. Adjust the heat, the cooling. So how many people are like that about your home? Like anything beyond those basic things for my car, like what's under the hood there? I don't know, it's a little magical to me, I don't know. The engine, I guess, right? But it's the same thing for your house, right? Are you a house expert? Do you know every component of your house? What they're really sort of targeting now, or the way they phrase it, is what they call the house as a system. Right, so the house is basically a system of interdependent parts, and when you change one component of your home, how is it going to affect the other parts of your home? So let's just say, let's see, what would be a good example? Let's say you've got a bathroom, right, with a bathroom exhaust fan, and no insulation in the attic, and then you go and install insulation, and you install it right over the bath fan. But the bathroom exhaust fan, instead of being vented outside, getting rid of all the moisture out of the house, it's just venting right into the attic and the insulation now. So what's going to happen, like inside your bathroom, right? Now you're going to have a lot more moisture buildup, which is going to lead to mold, and staining, and then of course moisture can, could also lead to wood rot or insects. And then of course in your attic, there's gonna be a lot more moisture buildup there. So a lot of damage to everything. So you can do something like insulating your attic, right? This is exactly what my house needs, but you've done it in a poor way, so now other parts of your home are suffering. So with the energy audit, we're looking at all these different components of your home, and we want to figure out, first off, is there any like sort of roadblocks to prevent you from doing any of these recommendations? Maybe if you have like knob and tube wiring in your attic, then you want to install attic over that, right? That should be removed. Maybe you have like the vermiculite insulation in the attic, which had some of it had asbestos in it. Maybe that should be removed before further work is done. So by doing this energy audit, the auditors can help find out any roadblocks. But then again, looking at the insulation for your walls, your attic, your basement or crawl space, looking at your heating, your cooling system, looking at your water heater, looking at your utility bills, and just finding out again, like what's your key concern, right? If your key concern is, well, again, whether it's environmental, whether it's comfort or energy savings, most of the recommendations are going to be about the same anyway. For these manual J load calculations, let's just say we had someone who's never wore a pair of shoes in their life, and they were going to a shoe store for the first time, but they had to purchase the first pair of shoes that they tried on. Right? Well, what's the proper thing to do? They should probably find out what size their foot is. Right? So the same thing for your home. You could have maybe like an oil system, and it could be oversized for your home, and it is what it is. But for the heat pump system, right, if it's too big, it's not going to be a good thing, right? We're talking a little Goldilocks here, right? If it's oversized, you're paying more money than you need to up front. You're never going to reach sort of like the comfortable temperatures and energy savings that you want to have, especially during the summertime. If the cooling side is oversized, like the cooling system's going to like turn on, off, and that's really when it's least efficient, when it's just starting up. And as well as cooling, the heat pump is also designed to dehumidify your home as well. You're trying to get, again, that excess moisture out of the house. So it's just really important to make sure that you are installing a heat pump system that is correctly sized for your home. So before you install the heat pump system, you do this manual J load calculation. And apparently before I got involved with it, it used to be, like a big thick manual and stuff like that, and here's how to scope everything. Of course, now it's computer software, and it's fairly easy to use. And when I'm done with it, basically just looks like that. It's just basically drawing out little boxes, measuring the house room by room, putting all the measurements into the software, including these are like windows over here, sliding glass door, other exterior doors, getting all that information, and then at the end, it does the calculation, and it'll be like, great, you need X amount of BTUs to heat your home, or you'll need basically like a 3-ton heat pump system or a 4-ton heat pump system. So for SELCO in particular, for their rebates, they have a requirement that the heat pump system, if it's going to be the sole source of heat for your home, it needs to be able to meet, at a minimum, 90% of the heating load, or up to 120%. So right, again, if it's too small, well, you're going to be cold anyway. You're just not going to be comfortable. You're going to be unhappy with it. And if it's oversized, again, it's not going to be as efficient as it ought to, and you probably spent more money up front than you needed to as well. So doing this manual J load calculation is important, and again, that's free to you as well. And there's been a couple occasions, like for people who know they want to do the heat pump anyway, so we'll go out, we'll do the energy audit, we can do the manual J load calculation at the same time, so it's not like we need to make a bunch of trips to your house, just trying to get it all done at once. And then after that manual J load calculation, great, here's a little report that you can share with your contractor. It says basically what size or the amount of heat needed to heat your home, so they can propose an accurately sized system. Well, CET also does what they call a design review, up to 3 of them at no cost. So basically it's looking at, and this is an example of a house, right? So it's talking about the heating load for the house, total is, and it's measured in BTUs, which is British thermal units, excess stuff. All right, so 54,000 BTUs to heat your home. Or so that would probably be, basically like 4.5 tons or a 5-ton heat pump. And again, that's an extra numbers, don't worry about it. So this is telling us like basically how much heat is needed to heat your home. And then like these are the systems the contractor wants to install. And then, so there's another website we can go to access all the information about the heat pump. And it tells us, great, well, how much heat does the heat pump produce at 5 degrees, right? Because you want to make sure when it's really cold, you can still adequately heat your home without freezing to death. Or I'd imagine the worst case scenario is like SELCO or West Boylston getting the call because like the heat pumps that they're sort of, encouraging you to get just aren't working out. So again, it's all to help you, the homeowner. So again, with the design review, it's just making sure that whatever shoe the salesman's pushing is actually going to fit the guy's feet who's never worn a pair of shoes. And then it also makes sure that it meets the, the minimum efficiency, or the minimum energy efficiency requirements and things like that. So we talked about the energy audit and how important it is to make sure that your home is actually insulated and well air sealed. So again, like one of the common complaints or concerns is maybe for like an older house, the heat pump just won't be able to heat the home. Well, it's like if the home is adequately insulated and air sealed, and if the system is properly designed for your home, then it shouldn't be a problem. Let's see, some other common questions. I think these are questions you guys had on there. There we go. What's the process for going forward? Well, there's the phone number right up there. I guess it's in your handout too. Or you can get with me afterwards and I can collect your information to get it scheduled. Someone said they currently have forced hot air, also does AC. So basically like the air duct system, what would stay? The air duct system itself could stay, but the heat pump air handler would go where the existing furnace is located inside the house, and the heat pump compressor would replace the AC compressor outside. How can we calculate the cost for replacing the oil-based heating system with heat pump? Prices are all over the place. Get 7 or 8 quotes. And what is the cost of installation? Sort of from what I've seen, like the mini split heat pumps, like the wall-mounted type, are probably around like $5,000 for each one. And for a central heat pump system, like I said, probably around like 18 to 25,000. That seems to be like about the reasonable rate. Does the heat pump remove the need for using oil for heat and hot water or only heat? So they actually have like heat pump water heaters as well. Again, we can talk about out there. So if you have like a boiler to do your heating and hot water, and you install a heat pump system and you get rid of your boiler, we'll need another water heating system type. And how effective and efficient are heat pumps for basement heating in New England weather? Generally good. And then someone asked about installing on interior walls. Generally, like the contractors, want to do it on the outside wall. It's a lot easier to do for everyone. But I've seen it on the inside wall a couple times. So again, like at that point, that's probably particular to your house, and even what different contractors would talk about. And the expected life, the expected life of a heat pump, about 15 years, maybe up to 20, and it just depends on maintenance and everything like that. Yeah. Scared. Do you raise your hand first?
You back up one slide for me.
Uh-oh.
On number 4, the $18,000 to $25,000 cost.
Mm-hmm.
When I go out and search, to buy a unit, it's, 9 to 10,000. It seems like there's a markup that goes on,
Mm-hmm.
plus the installation. How do you avoid that?
It's just the cost of doing business, right? I mean,
If I go look at, I see one for 9,000, I can buy it, right?
I guess if you can install it yourself as well,
So,
then
but
go for it.
in that case, can we get the rebate? Are we eligible for the rebate?
No, the rebates need to be installed by a licensed contractor.
That's the problem.
Yeah, right, so again, just in general, everything's really expensive right now, right? When I was in Georgia, they were installing insulation for like $1.19 a square foot. And now up here, like the common square footage for like attic installations around like close to $3 a square foot. So right, it's not only the cost of material, the cost of labor, the cost of, owning the building, owning the vehicle, insurance, all that stuff, and taxes and all of the fun stuff there. So, yeah, like for number 4, those are the prices I typically see. Someone over, this woman had her hand up.
The mini split cost of $5,000.
Mhm.
Does that include both the inside and outside unit for a single mini split?
Yeah, that's approximately the cost for both both the inside and the outside unit. Now, like if you're looking to install, let's just say you have, you only want one of them, right? So like you have, an addition that was installed and you're just, it's a bigger room and it's just for that one area. Maybe it would be a little bit more than that, right? But like for the average cost, it's about, 5,000 for each one. And I guess one more question we're allowed. Someone,
Can I do a clarification?
yes, sir. Uh-oh,
So it doesn't count as Pat's questions.
uh-oh.
How come no ground source? You're only talking air source. I know Massachusetts does ground source, but why don't you talk about that? Yes, I used to sell geothermal, so.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I know there's a company, Dandelion Energy from New York, but I think they have reduced their, and they, they were doing mainly like, I think, the geothermal or ground source heat pumps, right? So for that, it's getting your heat from the ground, right? Because the ground's a constant, 50, 55 degrees. So like it's far more energy efficient, but far more far more expensive
But
upfront.
also Massachusetts gives you far more money.
Right, and this
This
is
is 15,000.
And this is mainly for like the West Boylston and SELCO. And so, yeah, some of you, if you have, National Grid or gas, you can participate in the Mass Save program. Most of the people don't. So again, like what's really more cost effective overall to install? Probably the air source heat pump. And again, we could talk about different heat pump types out there. And one more real question, there's a woman over here. Sorry. Or, no, maybe it was you.
Yeah, so, in your graphic of the wall-mounted units, you have refrigerant lines.
Mhm.
Are those mounted outside the house, or are you looking at drywall?
Yeah, those would be like outside of the house. Yeah, so typically that's why they like to install them on the exterior wall anyway, the mini split heat pumps. Right, so like they'd have the refrigerant line, you can see like out here, this is on the outside of the wall, it should be, right? And it runs up on the outside and then goes to the mini split, and basically just enters right where the mini split's located. So if you were to have like an interior one installed, well, great, how are they gonna run the refrigerant lines? Maybe it's something they can't get it through like an attic to go to a certain wall, but again, it's a lot more difficult at that point. And that's my 3 questions. I'd love to keep going. And again, I'll happily answer every single question you have out there because I just like talking and talking with you guys. And so I'll surrender the microphone now. Thank you for your time. Thanks, sir.
All right. So next up, we have Joe Coles from MWIC. He is MWIC's Energy Efficiency Program Manager. He has over 30 years of experience in the industry. MWIC manages our Next Zero programs, so our rebate programs for heat pumps. And they also do our commercial rebates. So I'll hand it off to Joe. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. So Patrick's mentioned MWIC and Robert mentioned MWIC, and you may wonder just who MWIC is. And MWIC is the Massachusetts Municipal Wholesale Electric Company. You can see why we use the acronym rather than the whole name. We are a political subdivision of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We were created originally in 1969, again in 1975. I've got louder all of a sudden. And we exist to provide services to municipal light plants, municipal light departments. There are 40 of them throughout the Commonwealth. And we do all kinds of things, from power supply to ownership of generating resources to issuing bonds on behalf of the MLPs, all kinds of stuff. I'm involved in the energy efficiency programs. So, as I said, it gives us the opportunity to issue tax-exempt bonds. We've issued more than $7 billion in bonds over our lifetime on behalf of the municipal utilities. We have 20 members, 20 program participants. The big thing MWIC does is allows municipal utilities a scope of services that we can perform more efficiently. The utilities can get the benefit of scale in working with. Next Zero is the brand under which all our energy efficiency, energy audits, sustainability, decarbonization, and demand response programs operate. So we provide a variety of services there: residential energy audits, appliance rebates, building envelope improvement rebates, that would be insulation primarily, heat pump rebates, scheduled EV charging rebates, solar aggregation. That's actually not really much in use anymore. The money that we were taking advantage of is gone. We do commercial audits, prescriptive rebates, custom rebates for commercial buildings, and we do connected homes. And Patrick's mentioned that a couple of times, and I've got a slide, we'll get into that a little further down the road. So home energy audits and heat pump consultations. Robert from CET talked all about those. So there's probably very little here that he didn't mention. That 888 number is the scheduling hotline. 888-333-7525. So that's the best number to call to schedule an audit, to schedule a post-installation inspection if your rebate requires it, or to schedule a heat pump consultation. That other number, the 413 number, that rings at my desk. And if you call me, I will say, I can call CET to schedule it on your behalf, or you can call them, or both. But essentially, it accomplishes the same goal. So I'll start with appliance rebates. This is probably the most common way that a customer deals with the utility rebate program. There are a variety of different kinds of rebates that we offer. Whoops, I went ahead too many. Air purifiers, washers and dryers, dehumidifiers, heat pump water heaters, refrigerators, thermostats, induction ranges, and washer-dryer combinations. Energy Star is our minimum standard for efficiency for everything that has that standard. That's pretty much everything but induction ranges. If you have questions about whether the appliance you want to purchase is Energy Star, your retailer may say so, but the real rule is whether it's on the Energy Star website. And you can find that at energystar.gov. That's the website that determines what's actually on the Energy Star list. If you call us, we can help you as well. We also offer rebates on rechargeable battery-powered electric lawn equipment. Lawnmowers, snow blowers, hedge trimmers, string trimmers, all that kind of stuff. I have a rechargeable leaf blower, much quieter than the gas leaf blower, and the best part from my perspective is after about an hour and a quarter or so, the battery runs down and I have to stop for the afternoon. So I get to go inside and watch football or something instead of staying out on the lawn working. That works well for me. But if you purchase any of these, look to your utility for a rebate on those. I've got information on my desk outside about what the actual rebate numbers are for both West Boylston and SELCO. Heat pump rebates, that's something everyone's going to be interested because you're here at a heat pump presentation. For air source heat pumps, we have certain requirements listed there. A SEER2 of 15.3 or better, that is the seasonal energy efficiency ratio, second ratio. They've changed the calculations recently. And HSPF, that's an error there, which is the heating system performance factor of 7.65 or better. For a ground source heat pump, and there are rebates for ground source heat pumps for the gentleman that asked earlier, we need an EER, that's energy efficiency ratio of 19.2 or better, and a COP, coefficient of performance, of 3.5 or better. These rebates are based on the tonnage of the equipment. And I know Patrick mentioned tons earlier, Robert mentioned tons earlier. A ton is 12,000 BTUs. Seems like an arbitrary measure, but it's the amount of heat that a ton of ice removes from the air when it melts. It's a very old-fashioned air conditioning term. SELCO rebates are increased if a customer is not eligible for a mass save rebate. If you're a SELCO customer or a West Boylston customer and you have gas heat, you can get mass saves rebate and you can get your utilities rebate. If you have oil, propane, or some other heating source, it would be just your electric utilities rebate. SELCO also offers an additional rebate for decarbonization if you entirely remove the fossil fuel heating system. We can get you more information on that if you're interested. Building envelope rebates. This is stuff like insulation, duct sealing, blower door and air testing to seal the house up to keep air from getting out of the house. All pretty simple stuff. You do need to have a post-installation verification inspection as a part of the rebate application. In other words, Robert or one of his colleagues will come out to your house and say, yes, the insulation's there. Sign off on a piece of paper and you submit that with your rebate. You call the scheduling desk, 888-333-7525. Information on all the Next Zero programs for every utility we offer is available on our website. That's nextzero.org. Not net, but next zero. We have an X. At the first website, there's a pull-down menu. You select your utility, and that utilities page opens, and that's what you see on the left there. And there's a window for every kind of rebate program they have. You push the green Learn More button, and the details will come up. You can apply online for the rebates, or you can print out a hard copy application, fill it out, and send it in by mail. I will say, when you're submitting an application for any of the rebates, be sure to include a copy of your electric bill so we know you're actually a West Boylston or SELCO customer. Don't forget to sign it. Those are the two leading reasons why rebate applications are denied. And when that happens, you get a letter saying your application was denied. You call us quite annoyed, wondering why, and we go over it and tell you this, and then you have to send us that paperwork back. And it just gets delayed. It still happens, but you'd rather get your money quicker. So connected homes, Patrick's mentioned that a couple of times. This is a demand response program. And by demand response, we're not just talking about reducing the amount of electricity you use, but affecting when you use that electricity. Every month, there is 1 hour in the month where more electricity is used throughout New England and throughout each transmission zone than any other. Call them peak hours. There's 12 of them annually, plus one annual peak, 13 hours in the year. Those 13 hours represent something like 50% of the wholesale electric cost that your utility pays to buy electricity each year. Everything we can do to bring that peak electric use down saves money for the utility company, and that helps them keep your rates as low as possible. So this is what Connected Homes does. We use residential smart devices that would include thermostats, mini split controls, EV chargers, select electric vehicles, smart water heaters, and home battery systems. When a peak electric event is occurring, we notify you in advance. You've signed up for this. We push a button and we make adjustments to your energy use. We change the temperature setting on a thermostat by 3 degrees. So in the summer, on a peak summer peak, we will raise your AC setting by 3 degrees. In a winter peak, we'll lower it by 3 degrees. We'll change the temperature setting on a water heater. We will turn off EV charging. We will discharge from a home battery. How long does this last? Typically a couple of hours, no more than 4. They never extend past 9 p.m. at night. Right now, peaks almost always occur in the late afternoons and early evenings. That is changing, and at some point, especially in the winter, we're going to get morning peaks because of the increased electric heating. But that's probably 10 or 15 years from now. In return for signing up your device and allowing us to control it, what do you get? You get a monthly reward. These rewards are calculated monthly and distributed quarterly. $5 for a thermostat, $10 for a vehicle or EV charger, etc. I've got paper out on my table there that'll show what those numbers are for each utility. And as of yesterday, we have 2,350 devices enrolled throughout the state, and we have 1,449 different houses. So there's a lot of people participating. One thermostat itself doesn't make that much of a difference, but we get 1,000 thermostats collectively, and that does make a difference. And it's a good program. If you have questions, see me after the presentation, or you can always call the 413-308-1311 and talk to me. Here's my information. Again, my direct line at my desk, my cell phone, my email if you want to do that. And I know this was a shorter presentation, so we might have a few more minutes for questioning. I don't know. They'll tell me when I have to stop. I'll just keep talking all day otherwise. Does anybody have any questions on rebates or energy audits? And I think you may have been first.
Okay, I have a very stupid question. When you talk about rebate, is it rebate on the electricity cost, or is it rebate for the appliance you buy? You get it back from the state. I don't quite get
Okay, so let's imagine you, what town are you in?
Shrewsbury.
Shrewsbury. Let's imagine you buy a heat pump water heater. There's an $850 rebate from Shrewsbury Electric on that. You buy the heat pump water heater, it meets the standards that are listed on the website for efficiency and so on. After the purchase is complete, you send in a rebate application on behalf of SELCO to me. We review it, we approve it, and then we send you the money. Currently, SELCO's issuing those all as bill credits, and that'll continue. So you're not gonna see a check from us, you'll see a bill credit.
Thank you.
And it takes a little while for that to happen sometimes. Yes?
You mentioned a bunch of different, insulation and surrounds and doors and stuff are where the energy audit would take place. What about windows?
Windows, despite what Windows salespeople will tell you, do not save that much energy compared to the cost of the window. It's just not cost effective. Somebody's disagreeing with me, but that's okay. Now, you can do an awful lot to help seal up a window without replacing it. You can weather strip the window, you can caulk around it, you can make sure you have storm windows if they're only single glazed windows. Those save energy and are much less expensive. But there are no rebates. Any of the MLPs, I don't know that Mass Save has any for window replacement.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any of the, like, we have a condo, so, on the electric mowers, can my vendor get a rebate?
Probably not, but they should talk to us and we'll see what, your SELCO?
Yep.
You will see what SELCO might want to do on that, but probably not at this point. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, so the efficiency of replacing windows isn't great, but what doors are?
There are no MLP rebates on doors either. Same thing. They're so expensive to install. There's just not that much energy saved by them compared to the less expensive options. Yes, sir. None of the utilities have a list of required contractors. You can use any mass licensed contractor you like. I believe that CET, as part of their audit report, has some information on selecting a contractor. Mass Save does have a list of contractors, and you're always invited to call those contractors. They've gone through a vetting process with Mass Save, but we don't hold you just to any particular list. And I saw, yes, sir.
Yeah, quickly, can you explain for connected homes? I mean, I understand the EV charger, select EV. What other components can you connect? And what kind of system do you need to have so that you can connect it?
Well, I can go back to that page.
Give the example of thermostat.
A thermostat, it would have to be a smart Wi-Fi enabled thermostat, like the ones that the raffle winners have been getting today. So that would be things like a Google Nest thermostat, a Honeywell smart thermostat, or an Amazon thermostat. When you install those, if you install the app, you can control them on your phone. What we do in Connected Homes is we talk to the manufacturer's app, and the manufacturer's app talks to the thermostat. So the manufacturer has to be willing to allow their devices to participate in the program. That's why there's a limited number of manufacturers. They haven't all agreed. I'd like them to.
So if we install the Google Nest,
Yeah,
years
Google
ago,
Nest.
and they already be connected?
You would only be connected in Connected Homes if you took the steps to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's on my email.
Do you get emails from me saying an event is happening today? Then it's not installed. But it could be. And there was somebody over here.
So you have to have Wi-Fi.
You would need to have Wi-Fi, correct? Any smart device, for it to work as a smart device, you'd need to have Wi-Fi. Are there any other questions? Yes, sir, and I'll get to you next, ma'am.
If you have an older house with an oil burner system that uses radiated heat, and you have an energy on it, and they make certain recommendations, if you were to get a heat pump unit that just would service the downstairs of your house, would that still qualify for some of the rebate?
In what town are you?
West Boylston.
Yes, it would.
What about Shrewsbury?
Excuse me?
What about Shrewsbury?
In Shrewsbury, it would qualify for what's called a Tier 1 rebate.
Okay.
That's for replacements that are not whole house and where you're not eligible, and where you could be eligible for Mass Aid, either of those. The gentleman on the back row.
Hey, sir.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead. On that same screen, EV chargers. Now, what you're saying is, I do the home connect. You won't let me charge my car during the day, but is there a benefit for me for doing that? You say
Well,
it's saving the environment.
Sure, to be more precise, with connected homes, we're going to limit charging typically somewhere between 4 in the afternoon and 9, some group of hours in there. Never after 9 p.m., and only for a maximum of 4 hours at a time, and only on those days that we forecast to be a potential peak electric use day. So most of the days in the month, there's no limits to you at all. On the days that you are limited, the limits are off by 9 p.m. And if you start charging at 9 p.m., your car will be charged by 3 or 4 in the morning, in most cases. Now, if you're in a situation where you need to leave the house at midnight to get to work, then this may not be a good program for you.
Okay, and what are the benefits as an EV charger?
The benefit you get is a credit of $10 each month you participate.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So for the smart thermostat, are there wiring requirements that older houses may not meet?
I'm not aware of that. I think they can be pretty simply replaced. If you have a regular hardwired thermostat in place, I believe you can do that. In order to get the full use of a smart thermostat, you will need to have Wi-Fi availability where the thermostat is located.
No, but wiring.
And the wiring should just be a couple low voltage wires between the heating equipment and the thermostat.
But she's right, maybe the older house like mine, they don't need 3 wires, I had 2.
Yep.
But you are right,
That's
there
what
are
I'm
other
talking
things,
about.
like you can tweak and it still works.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Our current house is all electric. So you saw a lot of benefits about other form of heating, like gas and oil. Is there a big benefit of converting or going to heat pump if the thing is already electric?
How do you heat your house now?
Electric.
Oil? The
No,
big.
no.
Oh, your house is all electric right now? I'm sorry. Well, a heat pump tends to be 2 to 3 times more efficient than electric resistance heat.
So even then it could be.
That's that one stat that we have, the COP, the coefficient of performance. That's the multiplier in efficiency. That doesn't mean it's going to be that much more efficient every day, because that's on test conditions. But in general, over the course of a season, it's between 2 and 3 times more efficient. So if you're on the long-term spending $1,000 a month on heat, I'm just pulling a number out of the air, you'd be spending $500. Yes, ma'am.
Ask an additional question to that. How about the cooling part? How efficient is that?
They're very efficient central air conditioners, essentially, as long as they meet that SEER 2 or EER 2 requirement.
Talking about EV chargers again, you said one day a month or approximately?
It can be more than 1 day a month.
Okay.
It's often more than 1 day a month because we do forecasting in the morning. 10 o'clock in the morning, we say, is today going to be one of the peaks? Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Sure.
October, every day this month, has had forecast peak electric use within 1% of each other. It's been very difficult to say which is the one peak this October. So there's been a bunch of them. We are limited to 170 hours in each calendar year of peak events.
And do we know when that is?
I would send out a notification by email and by text if you sign up for that, several hours in advance, which says, hey, there's a peak today.
And an ancillary question, if you plug your charger in your car, and it turns out that it becomes one of those times when you have to reduce.
You can opt in, yeah.
Can I leave the car on the
Sure.
charger and then when
It
it's
just-
9 o'clock, it'll go back?
We're assuming it's a smart level 2 charger. ChargePoint and Emporia are the participating brands now. But yeah, you can have your car plugged in. Let's say there's an event between 4 and 7 p.m. You plug your car in at 3 because you come home. It charges, it's doing fine. 4 o'clock it stops. 7 o'clock it starts back up. It keeps going until your car's charged. Assuming it's, again, an eligible model to enroll.
And you said that was a smart charger level 2?
Smart level 2 chargers. ChargePoint and Emporia are the 2 brands that participate with us. And typically those are available for somewhere in the $550, $600 range retail. you do need to get them installed. You'll typically need to get a 240 line run out to your garage where you do your charging. Yes, ma'am.
Mentioned electric heat homes, right? When the, you have to change all the thermostats in your house if you have electric heat?
Well, if you have electric heat, are you talking like baseboard electric radiators? You're gonna have a thermostat essentially in every room, right?
Do you have to change all the thermostats on it?
Well, if you're putting in a heat pump, you're not using those anymore.
No. Okay. That's not what I'm asking.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If you want to participate in the.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's where there's a problem sometimes. There are no line voltage, everything's okay? There are no line voltage smart thermostats that are able to participate right now. The traditional Honeywell or Google Nest thermostat on the wall that controls a central furnace or boiler, those are low voltage lines. The ones you have on the wall, those are line voltage. It's 15 amp or something like that. They don't have any Energy Star certified smart line voltage thermostats. The reason is Energy Star doesn't have a specification for line voltage thermostats. They say they're going to add one, they haven't yet. There is a company out of Nova Scotia called MISA, M-Y-S-A, that makes smart level 2 thermostats, but they can't be integrated into connected homes yet. Maybe someday. The list changes.
Okay, but you would have to change every.
You would only be able to enroll the ones that you change. So if you change some of them, and assuming in the future we can enroll them, you could have that. And if it's 1 room or 5 rooms, that's up to you then.
Oh, okay, that was my question, thank you.
Question. So if we install, say, like a Sensibo that goes to the mini splits that
Yes.
attaches to a smart thermostat, can those smart thermostats be connected to these connector homes since the Sensibo is connecting to the thermostat?
Well, Sensibo's, the thermostat, in your case, if people don't know, Sensibo and Flare, that's the other model,
So, yes.
are smart remote controls for HVAC equipment. They started for air conditioning, now they're used for mini splits. In a mini split control, it's not a traditional thermostat. The thermostat's sitting inside the air handler, but you have a remote control, like a TV remote, where you can go temperature up, temperature down, etc. Sensibo and Flare are smart versions of that. They can both be enrolled in connected homes.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, let me try this again. Basically, I'm getting quotes from companies, and they're coming in and saying, a heat pump installation is gonna be X amount of dollars for the installation and X amount for the equipment. I wanna buy the equipment myself. I wanna have somebody, I'll find a company that'll install it. Am I gonna qualify for the rebate if I do find somebody that's gonna install it? That's your biggest savings.
Sure, we require installation by a licensed contractor in the Commonwealth. I don't really care where the heat pump comes from. Your contractor might, because that's a profit stream for them. But that's going back to what Robert said, that's what the shopping around part is involving. I don't, unless Patrick, you're gonna correct me, I don't see anything at issue with that. No, he agrees.
So the 18 becomes $9,000.
So if I were to agree to do a whole house system, am I required to remove my boiler?
No,
My current
but you can get a larger rebate if you do.
So there's a caveat.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Extra $1,000.
1,000 for the decarbonization. I have to, what are the rules for the tier 1, tier 2 for removing the fossil fuel? You have to cap the fossil fuel for tier 2? I don't recall.
Disconnect or remove. Yeah.
Okay. So for the larger SELCO rebate, you'd need to disconnect or remove the fossil fuel. And if you do remove it, you get an additional $1,000.
Thank you.
Boys, are we running out of time? Yeah. 2 more? Or no more?
I think that's it.
No more. Anybody who has more questions, please see me out at the table. I'm going to pick up the table. Thank you.
Just to clarify about that, SELCO does not require removal or disconnection of existing fossil fuel for any tier. But if you do, it's an extra $1,000. It's called a decarbonization rebate. I have Alex Hoffman here from the Beneficial Electrification League. Came all the way up here from the Mid-Atlantic just for this event. We really appreciate it, Alex. He is their Chief Strategy and Operations Officer. They are a nonprofit organization, and they're dedicated to promoting beneficial electrification of the economy. So let's welcome Alex.
Thank you. Also, if you would give a round of applause for the SELCO staff they've been doing a fantastic job here. Really excellent. You've got really good leadership in SELCO, and I can attest to that because I've spent most of my career working with municipally owned electric utilities and electric cooperatives. And so, you've got a good organization here that you can leverage to do what you want to and need to do. And I will say on the point of electric leaf blowers, which I think are just excellent, I'm biased, but the thing, if any of you have ever, and I'm looking at the crowd and I'm thinking maybe this has happened before, if any of you have ever rebuilt a 2-cycle engine or winterized a lawnmower or any of that stuff that is just such a good time that you don't have time for, I mean, it can be genuinely enjoyable, but really it's not, it's never happening at the right time. Electric just made that go away for me. So if you have the right size yard, if you have the right application, what you want to do is think about electrification, just using electricity instead of something else, in terms of what is beneficial. So beneficial electrification is the strategy that I want you to use. It's a term of art, and it's just about identifying those opportunities in your life, whether it's heating and cooling, transportation, or the tools in your garage that are going to be good candidates for electrification. And I'll argue that you're doing it anyway without even thinking about it, but I'll give you a framework here because I like to use big words. It's sorry. So it's three things, and it's not electrify everything. If you're happy with what you have, you're happy with it. Don't change. If it's going to increase your comfort or save your cost, if it's good for the environment, and if it's good for the grid, and you're probably not going to know if it's good for the grid or not, your utility will. And you heard from MWEC earlier, they have a program that'll make your electrification good for the grid, and they'll split some of the savings with you, which is the right way to go. That's very beneficial. But you got to think about it in terms of what's going to be good for you. And so it's beneficial if it does one of those three things without making the others worse. It wouldn't be beneficial to go and electrify everything and it would increase your cost. That would not be beneficial. You don't want to do that. Or decrease your comfort. But it would be beneficial if it lowers your cost. It's even more beneficial if it's good for the environment. And here in Massachusetts specifically, you have some really interesting things happening. The MLPs themselves have agreed to go to 100% clean energy. So you're on the pathway. What you do now for the environment when you go electric is automatic. You don't have to think too hard about it. You just change to electric. And then eventually, you're booking future emission savings. Eventually, it's 100% clean. Eventually, you have no emissions from your electric usage. That's a great place to be. And honestly, people talk about efficiency, and that's important. It's a high priority. But once your electricity is completely clean, you don't need to think too hard about the end goal of efficiency. And this is a way in the weeds term. It'll probably stay with you. I talk about it, I say emissioncy. Because that's really what we're talking about, right? We're talking about emissioncy. A lot of people are doing things for the environment because of what they see. They see emissions from anything polluting. It could be anything, you name it. But I'm sure you've seen plenty of images over your life. And if you're thinking about the environment when you're making your electrification decision, the good news is here in Shrewsbury, you've got clean energy, and it's going to get cleaner, so you're going to get future emission savings. And I think that's something that you ought to be proud of and that you can leverage to achieve any personal environmental goals you have. And you may not have those, but if you do, that's something to think about. And you're probably wondering, what is the league the Beneficial Electrification League. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. We mostly work with electric utilities, but we also work with manufacturers. And here I am talking to you all, trying to help you think about electrification in a way that's going to be good for you, and maybe it'll be useful. You never know. Anyway, I'm not the only one saying that people are using more electricity. There's a lot of research organizations that are out there saying that electrification is happening, and it's happening in a way, I would prefer that it's happening in a way that's beneficial, using the 3 pillars we talked about, but it's going to happen anyway because things are, well, as they say, the times are changing. Used to be there were no electric cars on the road. Now there are electric cars on the road. Used to be there were only 2 cycle engines. Now we have electric leaf blowers, and there's only going to be more of that because it's convenient and easy. And I think if you think about what the utilities are going through, sometimes you'll hear getting power is concerns. That we need to be very respectful about what it takes to own and operate electric infrastructure. It's not a simple job. You happen to have a very good setup here, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of very thoughtful planning to make sure that the lights stay on. And so folks are concerned that as people use more electricity instead of oil or natural gas, and as the electricity gets cleaner, that line here, this is the load, the amount of electricity people are using, consumption, and it's by year, and it goes up and up and up and up. And the last couple of decades, it's been pretty flat. But, you know, when I started, I've got some gray hair here. When I started, solar power was $12 a watt. Now it's like $1.25 or something. That's real. That's real change. And so, you know, as the technology improves and costs come down, people are going to start using more electricity, and we need to be thoughtful about it. You don't necessarily have to think about it because SELCO is thinking about it for you, and they do a really nice job. But it's something to be, if you're out in public and you're asking, you know, whichever utility serves you to do something, I think you ought to be thinking about, this is not a simple thing. We have done it before, though. So I think it's fair to say you have done it before. It can be done again. It'll get sorted out. But it's not easy, so I don't want to act like it is. And then there's another thing this gets to. This is the national emissions profile. And it's been going down. And that's really good news for people who are really interested in the environment. And in general, because it's that emissions-y concept. Less pollution, do the same thing. Less pollution, do the same thing. Great. And eventually, it's going to keep getting lower. So here you go. I think this is something to think about. You know, your schools, maybe thinking about electrifying. They may get electric school buses. The number one job of the school bus is to get the kids to and from school safely. If you do it electrically, you're also going to be saving emissions. It'll be quieter, all sorts of good things. And I think folks often forget, and maybe I'm looking in the room, probably all of you grew up with electricity. But there are plenty of people in the United States in this age group, some of the age group I see in the room, who did not have electricity when they were growing up. And there are still people now who don't have electricity, and you ask them, you know, what do you want? And they say electricity. I mean, I've spent a lot of time helping build a project out in the Navajo Nation. It's called Light Up Navajo. Some of the mass MLPs have been sending volunteers to that. It's been going on 5 years now strong. It's connected, I think, more than 1,000 families at this point. And these are folks who live in the United States, in the Navajo Nation, who have not had electricity their whole lives. And just the baseline value of having electricity is off the charts. It's the difference between all the things that, you know, you take for granted when you turn the light switch on, and not having that at all. And it's sort of hard to comprehend, but what I'm saying is that electricity has done a lot of good in the past, and it's going to keep doing a lot of good in the future. And you know, don't take it from me, but there's a lot of things that people have just electrified again without really thinking too hard about it. You probably have a color allegiance in your garage now. You probably do.
Nope, I got them.
Yeah, or you have them all. There's arguments for standardizing this stuff, but I think it's kind of fun. You know, people have been sorted into houses almost. They don't. And then, you know, sometimes I'm probably in the yellow group, but I could be convinced to go into the red group. I could be, if there's any vendors in the audience and they want to just, they want to help me out. And it's not, back to that 2-cycle thing. This is the number one ways that you can be embarrassed by your neighbor, because you'll sit out there and you'll be pulling to trying to start something for an hour, and you know, your neighbor will come and pull once and it's on. Electric solves that problem. So you know, think about it. Think about what's going to make your life easier. There's this. You see that tractor in the center. It's hard to see in the back. That's a wire-connected electric tractor. Eventually, they're going to be battery-powered, and I think that's going to be really fantastic, because you end up with, I mean, not just the benefits of the electric transportation technology, but I think there's something really neat about how electric vehicles can be used and are being used. You know, you see a lot of the folks who are focused on automated driving. Their vehicle platforms are electric. So you know, there's advantages there that can save people time and effort. And here's a electric heat pump water heater. That's pretty neat. If you have gas water heat and you would like to have it be electric, you can do that. And now people ask me all the time, and I think this is a very important question: what happens when the lights go out? It's a really good question. Yeah, so if you go 100% electric and you have a power outage, your stuff will not work. I'm stating the obvious, but the same can be said for your oil furnace, because it has a pump, and the same can be said for your gas furnace because it has a fan. And now, I'm not arguing to get rid of those things, but I think if you want a true backup strategy, if you're thinking I want complete energy resilience, and I just don't want to ever have to deal with the inconvenience of outage, SELCO does a great job keeping the lights on, so you really won't have to deal with that. And I know, because I've seen the data, and I've spent a lot of my career looking at this stuff, I will just say that you ought to just get a wood stove. And I'm sort of saying that because, you know, we all have to make choices. None of us would necessarily pay for 100% reliability or foolproofness in all places in our life, because it's a very expensive thing to do. And so we have to accept that there's limitations in the choices we make. And I would say electric is a really good way to go because it delivers a lot of efficiency in a lot of ways. But think about the situation you don't want to be in and come up with your contingency. If you'll be fine with a 4-hour outage, then you'll be fine with a 4-hour outage. That's the deal. And there are times, and this happens everywhere, that stuff goes wrong and you'll be out for longer. These are very rare events, but they're not insurmountable. I know folks that used to host as a way of managing the consumption in the town, the electric consumption. On the hottest days of the year, they would host barbecues and invite everyone in town down to the barbecue, and so people would not be turning on their lights or their air conditioners. But you know, there's plenty of ways to manage this, and I will just say, because I get asked this question all the time, everything uses, at least all of the modern technologies for heating and cooling your home use electricity. And you may just want to figure out what you will do, or how you will care, or if you will care if you don't have electricity for a little bit. But statistically, your electricity is going to be out very rarely, and it'll be back on very quickly. And there's more. You might get electric garbage trucks, or Zambonis. Huh? Could happen. Okay. Or this is here to kind of get a giggle. Another thing I hear often is that they don't work in the cold. This is not true. Heat pumps do work in the cold. The reason this is a advertisement from Minnesota, and it's an electric cooperative that's out there. And Minnesota is much colder than here, on average, in the winter, and they are doing just fine with their heat pump programs. People are adopting them and they're using them and they're comfortable in the winter. You have to understand that the performance characteristics are a little different between the fuels. It's the same as if you do anything, you change fuels in any other place in your life. You go to an electric car, the performance characteristics will be a little different. And the considerations are a little different. And so if you want a very efficient way of keeping your house at 75 degrees all year around, or 70 degrees, or whatever our SELCO professionals would prefer you keep it at in order to maintain maximum efficiency, a heat pump is a great way to go. If you are on the coldest day of the year and you're very concerned about coming up 20 degrees to make it 95 inside, and you don't have any insulation on your house and you've not weatherized, you might want to weatherize first. And that's a situation where maybe a different fuel choice is the right choice for you, but I would say electric is going to be a very good choice very many times. And so just think about your individual situation and use the beneficial pillars to determine if it's the right choice for you. But heat pumps work, it's a design issue. And most of your standards up here to get your rebates will require you to use something that's efficient in cold weather. But you'll want to talk with your contractor and make sure that you're getting things exactly how you want them. And part of why you're here is to inform yourself. So I'm just telling you, they work in the cold plenty well. There are, as the technology evolves, it's installed in different places in the United States for different purposes. What we're dealing with now in the last 5 years is even more efficient and heat pump systems. So things that were installed and put in the South in the 80s were not done for the same kind of purpose. And so you may read stories about things not working right, but you got to look at your own situation where the technology's at. So that's my thinking. And by the way, just on that cost savings portion, the Beneficial Electrification League did a study, and you're free to reference this if you want. What we found is that if you look at the top here, it's we did some modeling with different types of homes. We were looking at electric water heating, both heat pump, and then what we called a grid interactive water heater, and that's something that's controlled by, in your case, it would be AMWEC. And then we did, there's gas and propane. And the sort of red shaded are the most expensive options. The green shaded, it may be hard to see, are the lowest cost option. And then this single family 1 person, single family 4 people, manufactured 1 person, manufactured 3 people. And you can see that in many cases, the electric with the grid interactive option is the most economical way to heat your water. But not all cases. On the other hand, if you happen to have propane, almost anything is going to be more economical. It's just what we found in this study. And I think that it's interesting and worth considering what your situation is and how the economics change based on what you're trying to do. So the ball's in your court, so to speak, but you're here, you're informing yourselves, you're ready to make decisions. Last thing that I'll talk about for your return on investment is that there are plenty of tax credits too. You have your local incentives, and there are tax credits that you can go and get based on measures that you install in your home. And maybe even TurboTax will start asking you about these. I'm not sure if it does yet. I haven't gone through the most recent round, but what you can see is that if you need to upgrade your electrical, you have a 100 amp panel, you just bought a new Tesla, and you're having a heat pump installed, and you're doing electric water heat, you need more electricity. Well, you may need to figure out what's happening on the utility side, but probably you also need to upgrade your panel from 100 amps to 200 amps, so double the size, double the ability to deliver electricity for you to use. And so there's a tax credit for that. Electrical panel, $600. And there's other kinds of tax credits in there that deal with efficiency for doors and windows, insulation. I think these things are things that you can leverage in order to make your package of measures that you come up with to meet your needs work better economically. And so I would always say weatherize when you electrify. I think that's a good idea. We see a lot of benefits in that case. It depends on your home. Sometimes it's not easy, sometimes it's super easy. But always weatherize when you electrify and take advantage of these tax credits. There's a lot here. And if you're a nonprofit, let's say that you're some kind of, could be a school, could be a church, could be a community organization, there is now a provision in the tax law called direct pay. And so you can undertake similar kinds of measures, not exactly this, but similar kinds of measures, and whether it's clean energy or other technologies can be implemented with pretty good tax credits. And this has not been available before, and it's the kind of thing that if folks are looking at projects and they want to do, whether it's, again, it's clean energy or it's efficiency projects, there are things out there. And so I would consider you to check out, consult with a professional who does this to get your specifics run by them and get your plan set for what you think you want to do. I think we heard the measure shop around. I think that was a good place to be thinking. And there's a lot of programs to help you, but also you can do your own research and look at the tax credits and things, and maybe that will influence your decision on what you want to do now versus later and all of the other things. And with that, I will yield my time to any questions that we have, and thank you very much for being with my audience today.
How long do I have to wait before my wife can use the leaf blower?
All right, the question was, how long do I have to wait before I can use the leaf blower?
There you go.
And I would say, obviously follow the manufacturer's instructions, but also you probably have to charge it up. And then you're ready to go.
Yeah, so as far as the rebates go, like if I wanted to get 2 mini splits in December, for example, I could get a $2,000 rebate for this year, and then I could get my remaining 2 in January and get another $2,000. Is that how it works?
Consult your tax advisor. And also, I believe it's the year you place it in service, then you would file that on that year's tax return. And so if you do measures independently, then you'll end up with all the measures you do on that tax return. I don't know that there's I'm not familiar with any limits or caps, but it doesn't mean there aren't any. But if you decide to do some measures this year and some measures next year, the way I understand it to work, hashtag not financial advice, is that you would be able to split your project up if you wanted to.
Thank you.
What are the sources of electricity that SELCO uses?
I will defer to the SELCO staff.
That's a great question. We have a diverse portfolio of our power supply. Right now, we're at 60% non-carbon. A lot of that is coming from nuclear, like Millbrook and Millstone and Seabrook. There's also solar. A lot of it is hydropower. And each year we have a goal, an incremental goal of increasing that percentage of non-carbon power supply by 5% to get to 100% by 2032.
That's awesome.
From Canada?
In the back?
I have a quick question for SELCO. Are there any efforts to try to get the power lines underground, so we have less disruption of electricity?
We've got commentary, but I'll let you.
Yeah, that's another good question. So undergrounding is a great way to improve reliability and resilience of electric service. We just applied for a grant for starting an underground rebate service program. So customers interested in converting currently aerial electric service from poles to trenching and putting that underground into their home. We're looking to start a rebate program for that to help customers with that upfront cost. And around 50% of our distribution system right now is underground, and we are looking to convert that currently aerial primary distribution to underground to improve that reliability. It is a core strategy of SELCO right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think we're gonna start with a few more raffles, right? We're getting on time.
There was one more question, I think.
Okay. One more question?
Yes, all right.
So 3 slides back you had, it actually only pertained to water heating. Is there another, basically if I switch my mother over to a heat pump, she's right now on gas, she spends almost nothing. Is there any basically analysis on doing the heat pump analysis, and where would I go to get that?
Yes, SELCO can provide that information to you. We actually have a handout out front at our table where it shows each fuel type that you're currently on and what the savings would probably be like if you switch to heat pumps from that fuel type. It's based on like an average square foot home, 2,000 square feet, and based on our rates. So our rates are very low compared to a lot of other utilities in the state. We're at around 13 cents a kilowatt hour for our residential customers right now. Whereas if you just cross the border and go to Worcester, it's double or triple that. And I know that, I live in Worcester, and I wish I lived in Shrewsbury. But yeah, if you want to grab a handout, you can see multiple thousands of dollars of savings each year switching from delivered fuels like propane and oil. Those are the big savings you'll see. Natural gas, there's less of a savings, but you're going to see a couple $100s per year probably if you switch to heat pumps. All right, so we have last raffles, snow shovels. The winter is just around the corner. Oh, thank you, Alex. Give Alex a round of applause.
Hi, I'm Christine Trudeau. I'm from the West Boylston Municipal Light Plant. I am here collaborating with Shrewsbury to inform our customers about heat pump program and giving away some freebies at the same time. So we have free night lights and light bulbs, LED. I hope you stop by.
Hi, my name's Rachel, and I'm with Tipping Point 01545. We are a local volunteer organization, and we work with SELCO, we work with the Select Board, we work with anybody who will listen to us, and we also engage in a lot of community education on climate and electrification. We have a website. Our website is tippingpoint01545.com. You can look us up. We'd love to have you at a meeting.
My name is Jim Joliker. I'm on the board of the Historical Society here in Shrewsbury. And essentially what we did was we were able to get community preservation funds to be able to install heat pumps in the building. And what our primary concern was the fact that we have a lot of archives and archival documents in the building. And we wanted to be able to control temperature as well as humidity for the preservation of those documents. So with the process that we went through, we did an energy audit and were able to identify areas of concern in the building, which ultimately resulted in installation of insulation in the attic as well as in the basement of the building. And then subsequently, through a request for proposal process with the town of Shrewsbury, we were able to install heat pumps in the building. And with the heat pumps, we're able to control heat as well as cooling in the building, as well as the humidity levels for the preservation of the archives. So overall, it's been a great process. We managed to get through the heat of the summer with a controlled temperature in the building. And now we'll be anticipating the cold of the winter and see how we perform during the winter.
My name's Joe Coles. I'm with Next Zero. We are working with, we implement energy efficiency rebates and other programs for SELCO and for West Boylston Municipal Light Plant. That would be rebates, energy audits, EV charging programs, a variety of different things. For information, go to www.nextzero.org. Thanks.
Go to nextzero.org to see our rebate program for heat pumps and for further resources.
Nick Lupo here with Control Point Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electric here in Shrewsbury. We're a Shrewsbury-based company offering heat pump solutions as well as plumbing and electric. We're here today kind of talking about our working heat pump, talking about the benefits of heat pumps and what we can do to help out. We're a full-service company. We're not just selling boxes, we're selling systems and building relationships. So we're going to take care of all the paperwork for you. There's no worries when you deal with Control Point. We have the best warranties in the business, and we're here to kind of build relationships and be a partner in the community. You can get in touch with us at callcontrolpoint.com or 508-845-4822. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.